Welcome to EnfinityCast, the space where we explore the quiet architecture of our inner worlds. I'm your host, John Halden. Today, we're stepping into the language labyrinth, asking a question that sits at the very core of our experience. Does the language you speak actually shape the way you think? It's a fascinating, complex idea, and to help me navigate it, I'm joined by the ever-insightful Niko Ardent. Welcome, Niko.
Hi, John. It's wonderful to be here. This is one of my favorite topics because it feels like we're pulling back a curtain on the mechanics of our own minds. The idea you're talking about is often called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, or linguistic relativity.
Right. And it's not just academic, is it? It has these beautiful real-world examples. The one I always think of is color. In English, we have blue. But in Russian, there are two distinct common words, голубой for light blue and синий for dark blue. Does that mean a Russian speaker literally sees the sky differently than I do?
That's the million-dollar question. The strong version of the hypothesis, called linguistic determinism, would say yes, that language determines and limits your thoughts. That's largely been dismissed. It's not like you can't perceive a color just because you don't have a word for it. But the weak version, linguistic relativity, is much more compelling. It suggests that language influences thought. So a Russian speaker might not see a different color, but their brain is primed to categorize those two shades differently. They might be faster at distinguishing between them because their language has built-in boxes for both.
So it's less of a cage and more of a well-trodden path. Your language encourages your mind to walk in certain directions. I read about a community in Australia, the Kookthayorre, who don't use words like left or right. Instead, they use cardinal directions: north, south, east, west.
Exactly. And the implications are staggering. They'll say things like, "There's an ant on your southwest leg." To do that, you have to be constantly, almost subconsciously, oriented in space. Their language requires a mental muscle that most of us never develop.
And it even affects their concept of time. They arrange pictures of a story unfolding, not from left to right, but from east to west, following the path of the sun. Their language has constructed a completely different framework for time and space.
It shows that the reality we take for granted is just one version, filtered through our specific vocabulary. Think about emotions. The German word Schadenfreude gives a name to the pleasure felt at someone else's misfortune. Having that word allows you to identify and even discuss that complex feeling more easily. It makes the abstract concrete.
It makes me wonder about our own everyday language. If I call a situation a problem, my brain immediately goes into a defensive fix-it mode. But if I call it a challenge or a puzzle,
Your entire emotional and cognitive approach shifts. You become curious, engaged, maybe even playful. The words we choose are the paintbrushes for our reality. They don't create the canvas, but they absolutely determine the colors and textures of the picture we paint on it.
So our language isn't a prison, but it is the architecture of the house we live in. It shapes the rooms, the hallways, and the windows we look through. A beautiful and slightly humbling thought. Niko, thank you for guiding us through that.
My pleasure, John. It's a reminder to be mindful of the words we use, both for others and for ourselves.
Well said. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us in the labyrinth today. Until next time, notice the words that build your world.